There is no trust when it comes to Prince Harry, and the picture he tries to paint with Queen Elizabeth, even saying during that BBC interview that the Queen wanted him to have this level of security.
There are growing calls to strip Harry and Meghan of their royal titles. The New York Post is reporting that locals in the UK say enough is enough, especially after Prince Harry's disastrous BBC interview, which aired.
It started as whispers in Westminster. Now, it's on the verge of becoming royal history. Prince Harry, once beloved as the cheeky soldier prince, is now facing a full-blown political reckoning. A growing number of UK lawmakers are calling for the ultimate punishment, stripping him and Meghan of their royal titles. This isn't just tabloid chatter or royal gossip, it's Parliament, moving with teeth, pulling out century-old laws to silence the noise for good. Behind the palace walls, there's a quiet storm brewing, and at the center of it all,
major breaking news out of London. Buckingham Palace announcing Harry and Meghan will no longer formally represent the Queen. That means they will no longer receive public funds and they will stop using their royal titles.
A prince who walked away, turned up the volume, and might have gone one scandal too far. The public outrage has been simmering for years, but something about this moment feels different, permanent. In a time when monarchy equals image, honor, and loyalty, Harry's image has cracked. His loyalty? Shattered. And the crown is done playing nice. If this petition succeeds, the Duke of Sussex becomes just Harry. No title, no legacy, no leverage.
What the monarchy means for the monarchy.
Well, people are talking about it being a constitutional crisis, and I'm not sure it is a constitutional crisis. I mean, through circumstance and the Cambridges having 3 children, Harry slipped down from being the spare to the heir to the 6th in line.
And for a man whose entire brand is built on royal mystique, that loss would be catastrophic. But the backlash was just beginning. It wasn't a single interview that broke the dam. It was the build-up, and then the snap. When Prince Harry sat down with the BBC, trying once again to justify his decisions and plead for taxpayer-funded security, it didn't land as expected. Instead, it triggered fury. Just hours after losing his legal appeal for UK protection, Harry doubled down, and the British public had enough. Social media lit up. Newspapers blasted headlines.
There has been a crisis in the Windsors, not least how the Sussexes chose to release this news, but also the narrative that we've had in the fallout, that the couple were very unhappy, that apparently it was a very toxic environment, particularly for Meghan.
But more importantly, something shifted on the ground. "You're in America now, and we don't care," one headline roared. "You're not our prince." And for many, that said it all. The fury wasn't just about his personal choices. It was about the continued use of his royal status, his titles, to leverage sympathy, influence, and wealth while lobbing grenades at the monarchy. Polls started reflecting the mood. People felt betrayed, not because Harry left, but because he left, threw stones at the crown, and still expected to keep the gold. It felt like entitlement dressed as victimhood, and for the first time, even moderate supporters turned. The tipping point wasn't loud. It was firm. The public wasn't just disappointed. They were done. And what happened next would rattle the entire institution.
Brothers surrounding Prince Harry and Prince William, and what this change in senior roles for Harry and Meghan means for that particular relationship.
Well,
this wasn't just another media storm. It wasn't some angry tweet from a royal commentator or a dramatic segment on morning television. This time, the backlash came wrapped in legal language and centuries-old authority. The House of Lords, Britain's political upper chamber, received a petition to strip Prince Harry of his royal titles. Not a whisper, not a suggestion, a formal submission, backed by rising support from both lawmakers and citizens. Suddenly, the headlines weren't about public opinion anymore. They were about policy. Parliament had entered the ring, and they weren't coming empty-handed. Members referenced the Titles Deprivation Act of 1917, a rarely invoked piece of legislation originally used to punish royals who sided with enemy nations during wartime. Its resurrection now is not just symbolic, it's seismic, because using a law last pulled out during World War I to deal with a modern royal scandal says one thing: this isn't PR, it's principle. If passed, it would mean Harry's connection to the crown wouldn't just fade, it would be erased by law. His title? Gone. His link to British royalty? Cut. No more Duke. No more HRH. Just a name with no weight.
Story, as you can imagine over here, it really has, the phone hasn't stopped ringing, put it that way.
And in terms of your initial reaction to this latest news, that in fact it feels like it's a full removal in the sense of not just senior royal duties, but
Parliament wasn't acting alone. While Parliament made moves behind closed doors, the real fuel came from the streets. Across the UK, from Sussex to Scotland, public opinion didn't just shift. It flipped. A new national poll showed 62% of Britain's support removing Harry's title. Among older and conservative voters, that number skyrocketed past 70%. Even traditional Labour supporters, usually more forgiving, started saying what many had held back for years. He doesn't represent us anymore. One elderly woman from Sussex, the very region his dukedom is named after, summed it up in just a few words. He represents himself. That line hit like a thunderclap. The problem isn't that Harry left the royal family. It's that he keeps cashing in on the very thing he abandoned. From memoirs to documentaries, every move has been branded Duke of Sussex. And the public isn't blind. They see the Netflix deals, the Spotify drama, the carefully crafted media appearances, all wrapped in royal packaging. What was once perceived as a painful exit now feels like a profitable rebrand. And nothing enrages British pride more than the idea of royal titles being used like marketing props. For a country that treats monarchy as sacred, this felt like betrayal with a business plan. And the betrayal was about to get even louder. If Harry's interviews stirred the storm, Meghan's branding moves poured gasoline on the fire. It all escalated when a podcast host posted a gift basket she received. A classy thank you note included. But it wasn't the gesture that caught fire, it was the wording. With the compliments of Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. That one sentence ignited a national outcry. Meghan had agreed, publicly and formally, to stop using the HRH title after stepping back from royal duties. Yet here it was, printed and promoted, as if the rules simply didn't apply. Critics called it shameless. Politicians called it provocative. Commentators called it title laundering. The message was clear. Meghan and Harry hadn't just stepped back. They'd rebranded royalty, and the public noticed. Everything from books to kids' projects came stamped with Duke and Duchess. Not Harry and Meghan, not even casually royal, but deliberately royal. To many, this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was strategy. And it sparked a deeper question. If you disown the system, why still wear its crown? For a monarchy built on tradition and symbolism, this was a direct hit. Using HRH like a marketing badge felt like selling the family crest to the highest bidder. And that's when Buckingham Palace's silence stopped looking diplomatic and started looking deliberate. But the royal silence wouldn't last much longer. While the public erupted and Parliament sharpened its tools, Buckingham Palace stayed quiet. No statements, no defenses, no warnings. But behind that royal silence, something more telling was unfolding. A quiet, calculated withdrawal of support. King Charles, often portrayed as conflict-averse, didn't lift a finger to shield Harry. And insiders suggest that wasn't accidental. He didn't want to look like a father punishing his son. Instead, he let the system do the cutting. It's strategic distancing, letting Parliament be the sword while the crown plays the diplomat. But the more powerful signal came from Prince William. Sources close to the palace say William is done. No objections, no sympathy, just quiet agreement as Parliament advances. For William, this isn't personal anymore. It's preservation. He's next in line to the throne. And to him, Harry's actions aren't just embarrassing, they're dangerous. From Netflix bombs to memoir betrayals, Harry hasn't just burned bridges. He's lit up the royal house with a torch. William's silence now reads like a green light, a royal nod to remove what's become a thorn in the crown's side. The message? This isn't a family squabble. It's damage control for the institution itself. And that institution was about to draw a line in stone. The monarchy has survived scandal before. Affairs, divorces, even abdications. But Harry's fall from grace isn't rooted in tabloid drama. It's constitutional. Royals aren't supposed to be political. They're symbols of neutrality, duty, and tradition. But Harry, he shattered that line. From criticizing the First Amendment to aligning with U.S. political causes, He's done what no working royal would dare. British lawmakers are now using the phrase title laundering, accusing Harry of weaponizing his royal identity to push foreign agendas. And for a system built on heritage, that crosses a red line. In British politics, this isn't just bad manners. It's seen as dangerous. A foreign-based royal using inherited status to influence culture wars? That's the stuff of royal nightmares, especially when that status is legally protected by the very institution being attacked. Harry thought he was just sharing his truth, but Parliament sees it as a ticking time bomb, a threat to the entire constitutional balance. Royals don't pick sides, but Harry has, loudly, repeatedly. And lawmakers are now moving not out of outrage, but out of duty, because to them, letting this slide sets a precedent that could unravel the monarchy's apolitical core. And what he stood to lose wasn't just symbolic, it was everything. Imagine it. Harry walks into a gala, and instead of being announced as His Royal Highness, the Duke of Sussex, he hears Mr. Harry Windsor. That's not just a formality, that's a brand collapse. In Hollywood, in business, in every elite circle they move through, the titles are everything. They're the golden ticket, the subtle but powerful signal that says, we're not just celebrities, we're royalty. Take that away, and the illusion crumbles. And that's exactly what Parliament is threatening to do. Because at this point, Harry and Meghan aren't just controversial public figures, they're walking contradictions. They preach privacy, but sign multi-million-dollar deals to talk about their personal lives. They claim to step away from the crown, yet use its shine to promote everything from docuseries to wellness brands. Even their children carry royal titles, while they attack the system that gave them those names. Critics say it's the ultimate hypocrisy. Supporters once defended them as victims. Now, even they are backing away. If the petition passes, it won't just be a title change, it'll be a total reset, cutting off their last legitimate connection to the monarchy, and with it, their credibility. And what came next proved just how serious the crown really was. When news broke that Parliament was invoking the Titles Deprivation Act of 1917, a law last used to strip royals who supported enemy nations during World War I, it became clear. This wasn't symbolic, it was historic. In the same breath as disgraced figures like Prince Andrew, Harry's name was being weighed for removal. Buckingham Palace didn't stop it. King Charles kept his distance. And William? Sources say he's fully behind the move, even if he never says it publicly. Because for him, this is about more than titles. It's about stopping a slow burn collapse of royal legitimacy. Across the UK, the mood has hardened. Protests became petitions, and in Sussex, Harry's own dukedom, locals flooded the petition with signatures. One woman said it plainly. He left us. He left the monarchy. But he didn't leave the money. It's not just public rage anymore. It's a movement. And Parliament heard it loud and clear. This isn't going to end with a statement or an apology. It's going to end with paperwork, precedent, and quiet signatures behind closed doors. When that happens, Harry won't just lose a title. He'll lose the illusion of royalty, the access it grants, and the legacy it once promised. And for the first time in this saga, he won't have the last word.